Good morning and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. As usual, we bring to you newspaper review and in-depth analysis. My name is Ololade Adeomi. Let's get started first with the Vanguard newspaper. On the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, it says Buhari Tinubu sets up nine-man committee. Burial ode today. Declares today public holiday. Shetima pays condolence visits to Buhari's family in London. I was with Buhari in the same hospital. Abdulsalami Abubakar says presidency postpones special FEC. NAS suspends all legislative activities till July 2022. Khan, Amechi, Oshomole, Saraki, Mawa, others paid tribute. Buhari left indelible imprint on page of national history, says NSCIA. You can find the story on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. You can also see a picture of Shetima condoling with Buhari's family, and at the bottom you can see a picture of the governor of Ogun State, the Governor Dakwa Abiodun, his wife, as well as Dangote on the front page at the burial of Awujale in Ijebu. Page 9 story says, Why I support ADC's coalition but remain in PDP, Lamido says. On page 7, it says, More tribute as Awujale is buried in Ijebu. Top banner says Dangote plans seaport to enhance export of fertilizers and others. You can find this story on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. Away from the Vanguard, straight into the Punch. Major headline for the Punch says Daura Kingsmen associate reflects on Buhari's final month. You can find the story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Bottom banner says Ogun workers begin strike over 82 billion naira pension arrears. And 2027, Adeleke attacks Aregbesola over plan to oust governor. Away from the Punch, straight into the Nation newspaper. Front page of the Nation says Tinubu, African leaders for Daura to attend Buhari's burial. Top right corner says plot to unseat Oshun Governor Adeleke knocks Aregbesola, and Wadada Ume, Father Osi, seven other senators set to change parties. Away from the Nation, straight into the Guardian newspaper. As a major headline, it says pay TV struggles as more Nigerians opt for mobile stream services. You can find the story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Buhari gets a state funeral as critics fault National Assembly's week-long tribute. You can find the story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. That's what we have on the front page of our newspaper. Let's join us after the break for a brief analysis of some of our top stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining me today in the news on Vanguard Live, my name is Ololade Adeomi. Joining me in the studio today is Mr. Dayo Akintobi. He's the publisher of Ilupeju Today, Ikeja GRA Today, and Lekki Today. Good morning, Mr. Dayo Akintobi.
Good morning to you, Lolade, and good morning to all our viewers, and happy holidays, and
Happy
may
holidays.
ex-President Buhari's soul rest in perfect peace.
Amen. Let's take a look into our first story. The burial of our former president, President Muhammadu Buhari, is set to hold 4 p.m. today, July 15th, in Daura, Castina State. President Tinubu has established a state burial and appointing an interministerial committee chaired by the SGF Jajakume, involving 9 key cabinet members and other top officials to coordinate the event. Today has also been declared a public holiday as well. A national holiday and 7 days of mourning has been declared with flags at half mast and condolence books opened across federal MDAs. What can you say about the whole process in which the burial preparation has been handled so far?
Well, this is par for the course for a former president of the country. When they say they are according him a state burial, which is what is right to do for a revered leader, even those who are not so revered, those who are reviled. The fact that they've once been our leaders entitles them to all the accoutrements of office, including a pension when they were alive, including lifetime security, things like that. So a state burial is standard procedure for a former leader when he passes away. You see it in the United States and other developed countries, and I'm glad that we ourselves are upholding that global best practice in Nigeria as well. It is deserving for anyone who served the country in whatever capacity for however long, that when they are called to meet their maker, that they should be given befitting final rights. Even commoners, ordinary people, those who don't offer themselves up for service, our ambition in life is to be given a befitting burial when we go to the greater beyond. So imagine now somebody who served the country at the highest echelons of authority, that it should not just be befitting, it should have pomp and pageantry. So you will see 21 gun salutes, you will see a parade of military, you will see, even though his last office was as a democratic president, he was still the commander in chief of the armed forces. So you will see the armed forces come out. The current president has already ordered all flags to fly at half mast. These are ceremonial accolades that are paid to a demised past leader. And I think it's in keeping with tradition, and it's only the right thing to do for President Buhari.
Okay, so there have been critics on the National Assembly flying around about their 1 week tribute and not, going doing their legislative duties until July 22. What is your opinion on this?
Well, our legislators will always find a way to skive off work anyway, because at the end of the day, you ask yourself, what work do they do? Why do we have a permanent legislature as opposed to part time? Why don't we have career people, professionals who have their day job and then just volunteer to go and be part-time parliamentarians and just go? But when we have full-time parliamentarians, what are they doing there? So of course, any opportunity to take a holiday, they're only too happy, because I don't see what they can do that's occupying their time 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, 12 months. I don't see what work they do. How many bills do they debate? How many? So they are happy, of course, that they have a reason to take time. Do you know how many times they call recess from plenary? Every time they meet for 2, 3 days, next thing they're on recess. They're on recess. They're on recess. So this is just another opportunity for them. Although I'm sure that many of them genuinely feel grief and genuinely want to mourn and genuinely want to celebrate the president. But it can be done even in the process of your normal everyday duties. Look at, we, the rest of Nigerians, were getting 1 day to mourn. Why can't they have given themselves just 1 day to take off work? Those who want to go to the Daura should go to the Daura. Those who want to watch on TV should watch on TV. Those who want to go to mosque to pray for his soul should go. Then they resume tomorrow, like the rest of us are. Are you not resuming tomorrow? You're at work today, exactly. So everybody else is resuming tomorrow. Why should they take a whole week off? They say it's in honor of him, but I think it would have been more honorable if they took today off and continue their work tomorrow, and perhaps just dedicated a session to him or something like that.
Okay, so what do you think about the 1 day holiday, that has been given to we, the citizens? Morning.
Well, it caught us unawares because it was announced late in the evening. And, a lot of people had made plans. There are people who want to travel overseas today, who had planned to go to the bank to sort out their foreign exchange affairs. There are people who had intended to go to the post office, who had intended to go to the secretariat, who had intended to go to many different places today. And then at the last minute, after making plans, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock yesterday evening, public holiday is declared. I think it was a bit rash. I think it didn't take into consideration the needs of the greater majority of the Nigerian people. And President Buhari, being the kind of person he was, I don't think this is something that he would have wanted to inconvenience 230 million people just on his account. That is not to say he's not deserving of a public holiday in his honor. But maybe when they were going to do like maybe the 8-day Fidal prayer, which is what Muslims do, they'll bury you the next day. Then 8 days after you pass, there's a Fidal prayer. Then somewhere down the road, maybe a month or two later, there'll be the final burial service. So the public holiday could have been given then. It didn't have to be today on the day of the burial, because the time was too short. So it caught many of us flat-footed. Many of us are inconvenienced today and dislocated today by virtue of the fact that we found out by about 5 o'clock yesterday evening, after banks had closed. People will say, well, you can use ATM. No, not every transaction is online. It's not every transaction you can achieve online. Sometimes you have to actually go inside the banking hall. Some people had appointments at various secretariats today to do proposals, to pick up checks, to submit invoices, to all kinds of things that just got scattered at the last minute. So I'm not happy about it. I do agree that he deserves a day of mourning, but didn't have to be on the day he was buried. It could have been another day that's more convenient, and we were given enough time to prepare for it.
So, what do you think the former president, will be remembered for?
Well, you're probably too young to remember, but he had two public service lives. His first incarnation was in 1983, December 31st, when he came into power through a coup, when he overthrew uh, the government of, guess who? General Muhammadu Buhari, right? So, I mean, he overthrew a democratically elected government and came into power. So, his rule, despite being a dictator, the one thing that stood out was something called the war against indiscipline. He was a very orderly fellow and very disciplined, very austere. He was not for extravagance or lavishness. Very austere fellow, lived a very simple life. He wasn't into collecting cars, collecting properties. I think his only prized asset were his cows, right? So he was a very disciplined person. And how you would know is in reading some of the tributes. One of his ministers in his second tenure said that he was always the first to arrive at every FEC meeting, Federal Executive Council. He was never late for any appointment. And if you know that that is serious discipline, especially in a place like Nigeria where we have African time and nobody has any respect for any time at all. In Nigeria, you say meeting starts at 9. People start showing up at 9:20, 9:40, 9:50 and say, oh, there was traffic. Traffic is a fact of life. You have to factor it in to your movement. It's not an excuse. I don't take traffic or rain as excuse. It's a fact of life. You know, so you prepare for it, you adjust. So he was a orderly person. He craved law and order. And that war against indiscipline that he did in the military days, he couldn't replicate it in a democracy. Because in those days, if you cross the expressway where there's pedestrian bridge, there's army waiting and they make you do frog jump and they flog you with koboko. Those were the kind of things he would do because he wanted to whip us into line and make us an orderly people. A lot of people thought those methods were extreme and corporal punishment that is outdated. That nowadays, you don't whip people anymore. It's just barbaric. But truth be told, during the period of time that war against indiscipline was in place, Nigeria sat up and were disciplined though. We were disciplined. Nobody jumped queue. Nobody crossed the expressway where they shouldn't cross. Nobody sped beyond speed limits. Nobody threw trash out of the window of their car, throw plastic in the car. All those things would get you interdicted by the law enforcement agencies. And to show you how effective it was, when President Buhari came as a civilian president in his first term in 2015, when he beat Goodluck Jonathan, for his first 6 months of him being in power supply did not blink once. We had power throughout. Do you know why? They said the fear of Buhari is the beginning of electricity. The electricity workers were so afraid of him dealing with them that they found a way to keep light on. And truth be told, there was power. Not that they invested any more in the infrastructure, and it's just people sat up at their job. People will be sleeping on duty or relaxed or whatever. We had power for the first 6 months. Then, of course, slowly people began to relax and go back into their ways again. But his coming initially, when people remembered how tough he was and strict on discipline he was the first time around, they sat up and did the right thing. So that's the one thing I think he'll be remembered for. Primarily, he was also a good infrastructure president. He did Second Niger Bridge, did Lagos Ibadan Expressway, did Lagos Ibadan train, did Warri Itakpe train, did Abuja Kaduna train. So he's an infrastructure. He tried. He did although that was a PPP with Dangote. He did Apapa Oshodi Bagada Expressway. So he will be known that in his time he developed our infrastructure and he was a no nonsense disciplinarian.
Okay, away from that story into our second story for today. The U.S. mission in Nigeria has issued a stern warning. Nigerians who overstay their U.S. visas risk serious penalties, including 3-year ban, 10-year, or even permanent lifetime bans, depending on the duration of their overstay. The warning follows Nigeria's protest over deportations with concerns about the treatment of Nigerians in the U.S. immigration centers. Do you think there are diplomatic implications for the visa, restriction and deportations?
Why should anybody overstay their visa to begin with? Why? Why? If they tell you we give you 6 months to visit. After 5 months and 29 days, you should leave. Why? Why should we be making giving justification for unlawful behavior? A visa is a permission to visit, a permission to stay for a set period of time. No matter the circumstances, you have no legal right to stay a day beyond the time put on that visa. And if something happens that makes you have to stay, there are proper ways to go and seek for extension. There are legal ways to make a case. The only thing about it is that usually those who want to stay is a frivolous reason. It's not genuine, like, oh, I have a medical emergency. Oh, I had a stroke yesterday. I'm hospitalized and I can't move my arm. So I can't get to the airport and leave. So I need an extension. If you have a cogent reason and you can document it, they will extend you. But most people who want to stay, the truth of the matter is, most people who went probably intended to overstay from the beginning. So why should we be making excuses for bad behavior? First of all, it's their country. That visa is their own largesse. Because first of all, of course, you're coming to spend money. So they're interested in getting your money. But there are terms and conditions to it. So they say, yeah, we'll allow you to come. Because first of all, they ask you, what are you coming to do? So you are the one who states it in your visa application. Oh, I want to come and visit my relative for 3 weeks. Oh, I want to come and study for 2 years. Oh, I want to come and work. Will you give me a work visa? So they ask you what you want to come and do and how much time do you need. Then you present your evidence. Then they either accept or deny. If they accept, they now give you a period of time. What that permission is doing is saying that we believe what you have told us. We are going according to the statement you have made. We are permitting you to enter for X number of days, X number of weeks, X number of months. And you are bound. You are bound morally, you are bound legally, you are bound ethically. So I hold no brief whatsoever to anybody who has overstayed their visa intentionally. However, there are people who've stayed there 30 years with expired visa, who've made a life for themselves, who've been productive to society, who have never been in trouble, who are now under the hammer of deportation. I think discretion should play a role. That you have to look at the record of each person, see how long, see if they've been useful, if they've been a public charge or not. I mean, like the policy says, depending on how long you've overstayed is what will determine the penalty, because they want to discourage that kind of behavior. So if you've overstayed just by a day or two or a week or two, which could have been inadvertent, maybe you forgot to look at your passport, you forgot the date, maybe you got caught up in all kinds of activities that took up your time, you didn't realize, so there could be innocent error. So the penalty for that is minor. But then there are those that are egregious, intentional avoidance, which is illegal. So those ones suffer penalty, maybe lifetime ban. I've always been of this view. Let's stay in our country and develop our country. What are we going to America for? Let us close our borders. Let everybody stay here. By the time we open it 20 years from now, Nigeria will be better than America, because we have the human capacity, the human intellect, the natural resources, everything we need to make Nigeria great is in this country. So what are we going to America for anyway? Let us stay here. We don't need them. In fact, they need us more than we need them. Let's stay in our country. Part of the problem also, let me address this quickly, is that we don't have a diplomatic mission in America. We don't have a ambassador in America. In 2 years, the current president has not appointed ambassadors yet. If we had an ambassador in Washington, D.C., who was recognized by the administration, who had presented his credentials, and who has a working relationship with the State Department, he would have been able to step in and start negotiating soft landings. He may not have been able to cure any illegality, but they would have been able to soften the cushion, make a case for those who've been there, who have families, who this, who that, who just fell through the cracks. And then maybe arrange flights for those who really have to go, who the government don't want to hear anything because their case is really bad. He could have arranged a soft landing, but without a representative, a formal official representative, State Department is not going to talk to anybody. They won't talk to any undersecretary, any charged affairs or whatever. They won't talk at the level of where these kind of talks need to take place. It's at the uppermost levels, and without having an ambassador, that has worsened the case of Nigerians who are currently facing this issue.
So, the Nigerian government has responded to this, calling for a dignified repatriation process. Will you say this is enough? How best can Nigeria address this issue diplomatically.
There is no such thing as dignified repatriation. When they carry you, they put handcuffs on your hands, on your legs, and they toss you in a Bodle-like plane. It's not even a comfortable plane they will throw you. See them when they arrive now, looking all bedraggled and haggard because you've been in a detention center for weeks on end, waiting for a flight that's going to bring you. So the federal government calling for dignified repatriation, it doesn't equate to an ambassador going there to negotiate the terms of your deportation. Well, like I said, he could negotiate a softer landing. They could arrange for a charter flight that Nigeria would pay for to carry them. If it's America that's paying to bring the people, they will get the most raggedy plane they can find that costs them the least amount of money. They don't care about us, and they especially don't care about people who've run afoul of their laws. And that's the truth. If you overstay your visa, you've run afoul of their law. So it's not enough for the federal government to just call for dignified repatriation. They have to actually take some concrete steps, which would have been taken if an ambassador was in place.
Do you think all of this will reshape, the Nigeria-US relationship and maybe the migration patterns in any way?
Well, there should be reciprocity. So if they are saying that if we overstay, they will ban us, we too should say if they too overstay, we'll ban them. Because they too have oil workers coming here that are working the Niger Delta, that need work permits and all kinds of other documentation to come here. Tourism is also getting bigger and bigger. They are especially African Americans. They are into African culture.
December.
Absolutely, dirty December. So they too want to come, and when they come, they don't care. I know an American who came. I don't know how came recently. I don't know how long a visa she got, but the day her flight to go back was due, she extended 2 or 3 or 4 times. How do we even know her visa carried her for all those extensions? But because there's really no little or no enforcement, who is there to say your visa, you have overstayed your visa, there's a penalty to pay? But there should be reciprocity. So what they do to us, we too should do to them. If they are giving us a lifetime ban, we too should give lifetime ban to any of their people we find overstay. Yeah.
Okay, so let's end today's segment with the Mr. and Mrs. segment. Mrs. says, I was away for just 3 weeks and I asked Mrs. Smith to come over and help with household chores. Anything wrong in that? Mr. answered with, You have not answered my question. Why a 60 years old woman?
Why a 60 years old woman is the one that will come? Mr. wants a younger one that can be a junior wife for him while the wife is away.
Thank you
It's
very
all
much
right.
for joining us in the studio today.
My pleasure always.
Okay, so that was Mr. Dayo Akintobi, publisher in Lupeja today, Ikeja GRA today, and Lekki today. Thank you very much for staying with us. And you can follow us on all our social media platforms as seen on your screen. And for up to date stories on our website at www.vanguardngr.com. My name is Olola.